Tepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Keperu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about the white man's secret to domination or global domination. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to know more about my spiritual teachings, we do have free ebooks. You can scroll down below, click on one of the 4 links, download the ebook today and start reading. If that's not enough for you, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. You can cancel at any time. There's no obligation. You'll get exclusive access to content on the esoteric, content on the spiritual. The content will teach you how to contact the ancestors, how to summon spirits, how to do lucid dreaming, how to astral project, how to really do proper meditation exercises, and more. There's so much I can't say. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. So namaste, grand rising. I had this, it's funny, I have this notary coming tomorrow because I have to get something notarized, and I got a text from her. And this big major corporation sent her. And the first thing in her text, she says, grand rising. I'm like, oh, all right. That's kind of cool. I like that, this is becoming a little bit more mainstream, But I want to talk about a very important subject matter, which is the, like how this, and I don't like to break everything down into race, black, white, Asian, what have you. But to facilitate this conversation, we're going to just use the term white man, and how he came to power from one perspective. All right. You see, we have missed something here. And we started focusing on the minor instead of the major. You read your books of Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, books on the Black Panther Party, and many of these books indoctrinate you into the idea of Black nationalism or even Black supremacy. You read about Dr. Martin Luther King, his nonviolent movement, and things of that nature. But in trying to combat this system, we often start launching these terms of it's, the white man's fault, the white man's in power, we're fighting the white man, and that's true. I'm not saying it's not true. That's very much is true, but there's something that we're missing there that is really, really important, because when you're talking about this position of power that this white man has assumed, we are forgetting the biggest secret ever, which keeps him in power, maintains his power, and oppresses people of color across the planet. And if we don't deal with this issue, which we're not dealing with this issue, then even if we were to remove this man from his seat of power, things would still not go well. Because it's not going to work to where we're going to displace him and put somebody else there of color, be they Black, white, Asian, Indian, whatever. And you think that things are going to be prosperous. No, it's not. It's not. Because you're missing a very important component. And many people equate this to Ma'at. And that's true. You're right. That is the answer. But what do you mean by Ma'at? Because Ma'at, with Ma'at comes a lot. And if you're just using the term truth and justice, yeah, that's what we want. But that's not the key essential ingredient in displacing this white man so that we can have a reign of success in the coming years. That's not the secret. And this is because we have not properly analyzed the issue. Some have. Many Black scholars and white scholars have analyzed the issue and have tried to address it, but it's been pushed to the peripheral of mainstream discussion and ideology, and it's not talked about only by a certain set or exclusive few. See, I'm going to say it again so we have a clear understanding of this. You're never going to take this man from this position of power in the world and replace him with somebody of color, be they Black, and think that that person can run the world in a more truth and justice way, ma'at. And for an example of this, we only need to look at Barack Obama, where you had a Black man who ran the country for what, 8 years and did absolutely nothing for Black Americans, Black people. You understand? So that tells you that there's a component, something that we're missing here that would have been a game changer. See, Obama was just a type of figurehead. He did have power, and he could have exercised that power even in his last 4 years of office, but he chose not to. And still people love Obama. And we're doing the exact same thing again with Kamala Harris. You see, again, just because they are people of color, we just want to put them in office and think they're going to do something. They're not. Kamala Harris said in an interview that she's going to do nothing to benefit African Americans specifically. She basically told you what her agenda is, and that agenda has nothing to do with you. So voting for these people of color and displacing the white man from a seat of power means nothing, does nothing, accomplishes nothing. We have a track record. We can see it. So why are we continuing to think that if sister girl or the boss bitch becomes CEO of Xerox, then now there's going to be diversity in Xerox? Now there's going to be no firing of minority people. No, it's going to be the exact opposite. In fact, it may be more firings of Black people, more targeting of Black people, because you're missing the point in all of this. Your equation is incorrect. You don't understand the problem. You see, and I'm going to reveal this secret to you so that you will now know and be armed with this understanding of how to get through this. But then people come along and say, well, Obama and Harris are sold out. It doesn't matter if you get, it doesn't matter who you put in office. I don't care. They're not going to be able to eliminate this racist, unjust system until they focus on this key item. You have a system, you have a world that is corrupt to the core. And you would think that there are some vestiges of light, of truth, justice out there, but they're not. Africa has been literally destroyed. It has been carved up, sold to the highest bidder. And the people in Africa, the native people who live on a continent with the world's richest resources, are poor as shit. Are poor as shit. Yet in Africa has billions and billions and trillions of dollars in natural resources. How does that make sense? Because when we look in the Kemetic system of the tree of life, the Portneteru, we can see where white people on this tree represent Sebek. Sebek is a mode of thinking. He's a faculty of the thought process. In addition to being a god, he's a faculty of the thought process, which is verbal, auditory, segregative. He labels, he defines, he deals with facts, figures, numbers, math, verbal communication. And our ancestors codified those faculties as the deity Sebek. Because way back when in antiquity, we studied the mind and wanted to understand how the mind created society around us. And that society around us, or nature or nurture, had an impact upon us. So we know that white people represent Sebek in their thinking process because white people are left brain. They develop the left hemisphere of their brains, where we, as African people coming from Africa, develop the right side of our brains, which is more cosmological in approach, whereas the left side was more segregative in approach, which is where you get racism from, the segregative thought process of separating, seeing differences. Whereas in the cosmological approach, you see commonalities, you seek to bring things together, two totally different things. Now we're starting to get to the meat and potatoes. You understand? See, the great thing about the tree of life, it's not just codifying the different deities, but it's codifying the faculties of thought and how those thought processes operate. When you really start to study it, you'll see that there is the analytical thought process, the synthesis thought process, the segregative thought process, the syllogistic thought process, and the congregative thought process. Those 5 processes govern how the world operates. And when one is out of balance, they all are out of balance. And you have a screwed up system. Hence, you have a world that is messed up. If every nation on this planet decided to remove white people from positions of power, every nation on the planet, and put a person of color, you would still have mass chaos. You would still have destruction. You would still have financial devastation. Because I'm going to explain this to you. You see, Ma'at operates through synthesis thought process, to bring together of two to form a new whole. The white man coming into a position of power came with him was the left brain ideological thought process. So it wasn't just this white man as a figure, as a physical being, but an energy, a thought process of left brain thinking. And in coming into power with this left brain thinking, he created a world and society based on segregative thought process, Sebek. And hence everything in our society is filtered through and run through the left brain. Everything operates through that. The educational system operates through that. The system that teaches our children operates through the left brain. What does the left brain focus on primarily? Hierarchy. Hence, this is where you get the corporate ladder, climbing the corporate ladder. The drive for hierarchy is a left brain attribute. Titles, VP of economics, VP of digital, left brain. Complex systems and algorithms, left brain. This technology that you see before you, left brain. Now, we had all of this in Kemet, but we developed it from the right brain. So how we constructed our society was based more on natural principles that worked in conjunction and in alignment with the universe. Whereas that left brain would create things that contradicted the universe, that clashed with it. Yeah, it seems marvelous that we have all this technology, but look at what nuclear power has done in its wake: radiation, killings. Look at what this structure of superficial thinking coming from the left brain has done to our society, which has created materialism, created sexism, created pornography. There was no pornography in ancient antiquity. There was none. Our people didn't practice that. This whole cunning, backstabbing thirst for power and climbing that corporate ladder or getting that high position as president of the United States is a cunning thought process facilitated by the left brain. That's where that's coming from. It's not coming from the right brain, Ma'at. It's not. Because Ma'at is also, or the right brain, the seat of morality. It asks, is this right? Should we do this? Is this in alignment with the whole? Will this benefit the whole? And if it doesn't, then we don't enact it. We don't do it. See, many of these people in the politics, in someone's cabinet like Biden, they get paid handsomely if their candidate stays in office. Doesn't matter if their candidate has good policies or not. And most of the time, these people who go into office to become president leave office billionaires and millionaires. They go in rather poor, not poor by our standards, but come out multimillionaires, billionaires. Why? Because they use their position of power to leverage financial gain, not to enact laws or run the country in a very just way, because most of the campaign funds they receive are from major corporations. And those major corporations expect that this president will give them tax liens or benefits, will look the other way when they have massive oil spills. Will do nothing about the trafficking of children. Do you understand? Whereas again, the right brain, ma'at, a system or society built upon that is always going to ask, what is the right moral thing to do? Not how can it benefit me as an individual? How can it further my climb to the top of the uh, corporate totem pole? See, the danger of this left brain thinking when left alone is that it has a thirst for power and position. It has a thirst for domination. It has a thirst for control. And we can see how Western society is based on the reptilian brain. It has not evolved past the reptilian and mammalian brain. So you have the left brain acting in conjunction with the reptilian brain, and then you have an explosive combination of a destruction of a society. And believe me, we can't function too long on this. Because we're supposed to be operating out of the prefrontal cortex as a developed high level of society. We are supposed to rise above the mammalian reptilian brain. But this society is so spiritually immature, morally immature. Because, see, the left brain has a hard time working with abstract concepts. This is why most of these scientists, your Oppenheimers, Edison, and what have you, cannot perceive, cannot think, cannot work with the idea or concept of metaphysics. This is why Nikola Tesla said, when you start to look into metaphysical principles, only then will you open the door to the secrets of the universe. That left brain only deals with concrete thought processes. It has to be concrete for the left brain to really process it. Whereas the right brain, ma'at thinking, holistic thinking, has no problem dealing with abstract principles. This is why white scientists, cosmologics, astronomers, physicists are only now grappling and trying to understand things like dark matter, because you can't see it. You know, it makes total sense, and you understand. You know, I'm sitting across on a panel discussion. I'm sitting across, and there's a big audience from this white guy. Again, the race doesn't matter. And he is talking about, well, I'm talking about the idea of the universe, and that we have yet to explore the universe of the mind, what's in here. Because there's a whole world in here that exists in the same way as in the universe. And that what we can perceive or see is only the observable universe. So the universe may be even bigger than what we can imagine. But you see, this scientist does not believe in the idea of an universe, and within this universe is entities, is beings that governs our lives. This scientist says, no, I don't believe in the fact that there's this universe where there's entities and beings. I don't believe in spirits. And I said, of course you don't, because you're a white man. brought up in a white society, taught from the left brain, which has problems with abstract thinking. So because these concepts that I'm communicating are very abstract, you have a hard time imagining them. Therefore, your thinking is limited. Therefore, your thinking is wrong. Because merely because of the fact that you can't see it, you dismiss it. But we know that these things exist. See, they did the equation and they figured out that, and I believe Stephen Hawking was involved in this, that there were black holes out there without actually observing one. But merely through equations, they calculated that they had to be black holes, even though they couldn't see it. So the assistance of the equation helped them to envision a black hole. But there's no equation for the universe. So therefore, they don't believe in it. It's too abstract. Just like they cannot envision a God with no form and no body, like Amen. God has to be this white man with his white beard sitting on the clouds. They have to create some type of representation for it to be legit to them. This is the limitation of the left brain. So when you're constructing a society, a world based on left brain thinking, you are automatically dismissing metaphysical principles. You're automatically dismissing morality. You have to understand this. This is important. With the white man comes a certain process of thinking. Steph, I don't understand this because, let me explain something. People are just so into fads and just do things willy-nilly. I studied Oppenheimer years ago, and I was telling people, this isn't the first Oppenheimer movie. They've made movies before about Oppenheimer. And I said, now people are running to see the film. I said, do you realize how evil this man is? And we're praising him? This is not cool. But I'm sorry, I digress. Again, no morality, just worshiping the figure, the individual, without really looking at what he has done, what he or she has done. Look at the corporate greed. Look at these corporate raiders taking 401ks, destroying people's lives. But yet they get praise for their cleverness and their intelligence. It's a shame. So if we're going to fight racism and oppression in this world, we also need to fight this left brain ideology that has come with it, which is polluted our minds as well, like a virus, because we think in the very same way white people think. We think that if we can outthink them and we can be more left brain than them, then we can end this white supremacist society. No, that's not going to happen because we're not going to ever outthink them. We're not going to ever be better left brain thinkers than them. See, it's like you play chess. You come to the chessboard. You didn't create that game. You didn't create those rules. But yet you're expected to play by them and abide by them. So the system is set up for you to fail because the system is constructed by someone to benefit their mode and method of thinking. I go into the school system and they want to give me a test, whether it be SAT or whatever. But that SAT is a left brain concoction. And it's not designed for right brain thinkers. So already I'm at a disadvantage. So I'm going to have to attune myself and adapt to an alien way of thinking in order to survive. An alien way of thinking that has proven to be destructive. Do you understand? Because as long as you have this left brain thinking, this is going to be the source of the ills of the world. You're right. No humanitarianism. There will be none. That's not a function of the left brain. So I want you to keep that in mind, that it's not as simple as removing this white man from power. We've got to overhaul the entire system. I think it's, do I have this? 1 second. Oh. This is one of the reasons why I love the tarot, because it gives you a type of understanding of, in some sense, how the world operates. You know what I mean? For you to decode the iconography will help you navigate life. So if you are building a society, if you're building a world that is not based on Ma'at, the only thing that can happen is that it will come crumbling down. It may take a couple of hundreds of years, but it will come falling down eventually. Because the principles that it's based upon are not strong. So this is the tower of the tarot, the tower. And in this depiction is a tower being struck by lightning and people falling off the tower. And what, in one sense, this represents is it talks about whatever it is you created on shaky foundations. So it almost come falling down. It was not built on firm foundations. And that's how our world is today. When you study society, you have to understand that things that are put in place have to benefit and align with the whole, or else there'll be cracks in the system. And there are so many cracks in our system to where we have no answer. What's the truth about abortion? What's the truth about the transgender movement? We can't answer those because those problems were created by a left brain. And in order to save our society, there needs to be a sweeping change of how the world operates. There needs to be the removal of this domination on left brain thinking and an indoctrination and change into integrated brain thinking using the left and right hemispheres of the brain, thus holistic thinking. When we start to have holistic thinking, Ma'at thinking, synthesis, then we will build a world based on truth, justice, balance, and righteousness. If not, if we don't introduce that system, we will only be perpetuating the old left brain system. And that every leader or person who comes into a position of power will just foster the same old corrupt junk. The same old corrupt junk. You Barack Obama is a representation of that Sebek left brain thought process. He's no different. For there to be truth and righteousness, someone must come along with a right brain, integrated brain process, and that society has to change into that. Then and only then will we make progress and eliminate racism, sexism. Then we will make progress and remove this white man from his position of power, because a society that is based on right brain thinking will never have in its position of power a type of white man that predicates himself on left brain thinking. I hope this is making sense to you. If you got to understand where this is coming from, because this is the foundation of African society and what our ancestors died and left to us. The idea of you've got to practice our old ancient ways. And it's not just about the religion and being spiritual, but it's about understanding those faculties that I mentioned, putting those faculties in place in your family, in the corporation. We've got to get rid of this left brain way of thinking. It has its place now, but its place is not to be at the top of the totem pole. It serves the function of the whole, but it should not be given a hierarchy position, because chaos will develop, and that's what we see around us. Chaos. It has to change. And I want you to start thinking about this, because this is the secret, the truth of creating a real revolution. Because a revolution that's based on just removing one figurehead in favor of another is bound to fail. But a revolution that is an ideological change of thinking at the heart of the people will bring about great change. You understand? So watch this video over and over so you get where I'm coming from, and you understand the different faculties and modes of thinking, which is analytical, synthesis, segregative, syllogistic, and congregative. Study those. Understand the basis of a society built upon those. And study what happens when a society is only based upon left brain thinking. And what happens to a society like that? Thank you. And remember to spread this video to family and friends. All right. It's very important that we get this revolution started. This is Qesankh Keparu, son of my aunt Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Hetheru. Until my next video, Amin Ra.